Okay, cool. I always get rid of the first couple of seconds because I was saying I'm doing every single time I've started doing these, I'm getting this twitch where I have to like stretch my back as soon as I start.
Yeah.
And
How can be your thing, Daniel?
it it
That's
could
it.
be actually I've been cheating a little bit. I've actually just been putting them on from the get-go because I always think saying three, two, one, go. It sort of
Yeah.
sounds scripted.
So we've started then, have
Oh, we've
we?
started, yeah. I've lied to you
Oh,
already,
nice.
yeah. So it's good we didn't need to get anything out really quickly then. How's it going,
Yeah.
guys? It's another episode of Sit Down for Stand Up. I've got with me a comedian from Norfolk, Mark, comma,
Oh, yeah.
Mark. How's it going, dude?
Yeah, good, good. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
No, what?
Yeah.
Absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. So, Mark, I usually start this off by jumping straight into it, which I've already done. How did we get into comedy and how long have we been doing it for?
Well, been doing it for, well, it depends on how you count it, but 2 to 2.5 years. I did one gig. I'll come on to the first gig I did, and then didn't do anything for about 6 months, and then got really into it and stuff. So about 2 years. I guess quite a long story about how I got into it. I talk a bit about mental health, and we were chatting about it before. I'd had some struggles with mental health, so doing comedy and stand up furthest thing from my mind for most of my life really, but enjoyed comedy, enjoyed going down the pub and telling stories and those sorts of things, enjoyed making people laugh, but struggled with anxiety and panic attacks and things like that. Um, but started to get better and probably felt that I'd been running away from a lot of things and trying to avoid stuff to I was worried about it, and it wasn't really working for me because I'd still struggle with that. And I thought, actually, no, do something that's going to take yourself out of your comfort zone, and it's something big, and just go for it. And it's sort of like one sort of found once you've done that, you think, actually, you can do anything then, really, can't you? If you can stand up on stage in front of everyone else and talk and stuff like that, and not worry if it goes wrong, then yeah, you can do pretty much anything. So it's helped a lot, I think.
So, would you say on stage you are yourself, or do you create like an alternative persona?
I think it's me. I try, get lots of learning from different people and stuff like that. And one of the things is you've got to sort of kid yourself that you're confident.
Mm.
And actually, if you can pretend to be confident, it comes across as confident, and the audience relaxes and stuff like that. And actually, then you start to feel a bit more confident. And the more you do it, the more it's like it's probably the not worrying too much if it goes wrong gives you that. If you're worrying about it's going to go wrong, then you're going to stumble a little bit, I think. But yeah, sort of like, well, what's the worst that can happen, really? Yeah,
I own a pub, and one of the advices, one of the elder, I say elder, he's 66. He'll give me a slap for saying that. He just always says, "Chill out, you loser."
yeah.
Like we worry about things, 95% of them. There's nothing to ever actually worry about, but we manifest it and create
Well,
problems that.
you probably think about things. If something goes, you mess up a joke. Well, it's one of the lessons that like, oh, I messed up that joke. It's like you're probably the only one that notices it,
Mm,
or all the other acts that have seen your act about a dozen times because you gigging with the same people, they might notice it, but it happens all the time. But the audience don't notice it.
mm.
Doesn't matter. There's a whole chunk of it. Oh, I missed that bit out, and it's like, well, they didn't know what was going to be in the set, do they? So, yeah, that sort of thing is fine, isn't it?
Well, I've been a bit naughty lately. I've been using cop outs for so if something goes bad, I've got a joke to laugh about how bad it went. And
Yeah, yeah.
I did this one yesterday, and it got a bigger laugh than all my stuff.
Often
It was
does,
a
isn't
bit
it?
political, so I tried a new tag, and it absolutely went horrible. So I just went, "Oh, call me Israel," because I just bombed.
Yeah.
And that for someone that just got an absolute burst of laughter. So I'm sort of now relying on, sort of like making jokes about me messing up because I am worried of messing
Yeah.
up. And I sort
Well,
of,
I sort of had a bit, yeah, particularly when I first started, one of the challenges was just trying to remember your set and stuff like that. And you can't really perform it because you're just too busy trying to remember what comes next and things like that. So I'd had mine written down on a flashcard, which I put in my pocket as a little
yeah,
safety net. And you see people write on your hands and stuff like that, little safety net. And so if I need to pull it out, I've got a little line and I say, "Oh, I shouldn't need this. I've got a photographic memory. The trouble is I can't read my own handwriting." and that got a laugh. And then someone actually said to me, said, "Oh, I like that bit about that. Do you do that every time, that
Yeah.
joke?" And I said, "No, no, it's just there just in case I need it. But it's nice to have that little safety net. If you know that's going to laugh, then you're a bit less worried about forgetting stuff and things like
Yeah.
that you can play off it."
I had a guy from oh, Bournemouth on here, Glenn, and he was so knowledgeable. He did a bit on where he bought his like memory loss, let's call him Ritalin or something, from a TikTok shop. And like,
Yeah,
if he forgets something, he just goes like he says it at the beginning, and then he'll just revert
yeah,
back, going, "Oh, well, them drugs just wore off," and
yeah,
that's his cop out. But if someone, I always prefer, I don't know why, if someone brings flashcards on stage, then they get out their phone.
yeah.
I don't know why. I always think someone goes to their phone and starts scrolling. That loses me more than someone bringing
Yeah,
out a
no, I think
flashcards.
it's like I try not to do it. I think aim my aim is like once I've sort of learned my set and know I could deliver it, my aim in terms of style of comedy is storytelling and stuff like that. And I want it to feel like I'm just chatting with my mates down the pub and
Yes.
telling a story and trying to make people laugh and stuff like that. And you want it so it feels like it's the first time you've told it rather than you're reading a script and stuff like that. So you have to look at stuff. But if you get no act new material and you're trying out new things, that's sort of fine, isn't it?
Yeah, they usually
Some people
allow
might.
it. So with being a storytelling, is there like so if you say you forgot bits in your story, does it sort of bugger it all up, or can you sort of, go
It,
from 1 to 7, back to 3, over to 11?
yeah, it can a bit, because I've got some like callbacks and stuff like that in there. Like I try
Mm.
and play the craft a bit. The storytelling helps me because I want it to have a bit of a flow and
Yeah.
stuff. So it leads on from one to the other, so I know what's coming next. There's occasionally where it's like, oh, I've missed that bit out, and then you have to sort of think on your feet about, oh, is this next bit going to work, and so on. But I sort of worried too much about, I think in the past, like too much about linking from one bit to another,
Mm.
and so how do I link from this to that? And I was like, actually, it doesn't matter, just jump, just complete jump and stuff like that. And the audience is, by the time you've on to the next bit, as long as you got a few gags in there and stuff, they're not really thinking, oh, that segue wasn't as slick as it could have been and stuff. They're not thinking that, are they? But
Yeah,
I
if
don't
someone
think
came
anyway.
up to you after saying that, you'd be a bit taken back. I was remember someone
Yeah,
said to me, I mean, I'm very new to comedy. I'm very
yeah,
green. I've done about 9, 10 gigs now and
right,
about 2 months. I'm very new. So this is as
yeah,
much learning for me as it is for
yeah,
the audience because when I don't know if you were the same, when you started like, trying to YouTube how to do stand up, how to do that.
yeah,
So we always look at the greats but no one actually sees the grueling process behind it. And it's like I would rather have advice from somebody who's going through it than
yeah,
someone 20 years in doing Apollo because we don't go to that straight away.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
No, I've learned from doing that and actually just going to watch stuff as
mm,
well, and sort of stay when every gig that I go to, I'll stay and watch everyone.
it's,
Because you're still learning from it, and it's respect as well. And as you've made quite a few friends, and on the say the circuit, I do quite a bit around in East Anglia, and there's a group of you see the same people. I actually got a gig tonight in Stowmarket,
okay, cool.
and there's 8 of us, and I think one that I've not gigged with before. I like that because you get
Yeah.
to see some new stuff, but it's really nice to see how the other guys are developing and not seen them for a while and different styles and stuff like that. So that's, yeah,
Is there a
that's
good
cool.
circuit in East Anglia?
Yeah, it's pretty really good actually. There's quite a lot of comedians. There's a guy called Martin Westgate who does humour
Hmm.
comedy, which is probably one of the bigger ones in so Norwich and Norfolk.
Yeah.
Runs like weekly gigs in Norwich, a couple of weekly gigs in Norwich, and then monthly ones all around. And he's been running courses as well. So I did his introduction to stand-up course about 3 months in to doing
Oh,
it, and that really helped with my confidence as well. Really great course. Martin was great, but also great that encouraged each other to sort of like workshop the different sets that we were doing and stuff like that. It was just like a 5 minute, and then you had a showcase at the end of it for
mm,
everyone. Some of it was some people that was their first gig. For me, it was like gig. like 12, 15, something like that. I think it was useful that I'd done a few gigs before doing the course because it
You was the
some of that
veteran.
stuff
Everyone was
made
looking up to
sense.
you.
Well, more just because the things he was saying made sense. Going, oh yeah, that's why that didn't quite work, or
Would
yeah,
you give
that
an
makes sense. You've done
example?
it. Well, it was so if you're storytelling, it's thinking about well, how do you get some little nuggets on the way there?
Hmm.
You love a storytelling. It generally, you get like the old pub stories where it's a big long story and one
Hmm.
punchline at the end. But it's like, how do you make it funny all the way along? So I'm my age, I'm 57. I remember watching Two Ronnies. They were the big things.
Ah,
Watched that with my
they're
grand.
both gone now, aren't they? Both gone.
Sorry?
We lost them both now, haven't we?
I think so. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Cool.
Ronnie Barker a way ago. Ronnie Corbett. Well, Ronnie Corbett. One of the funniest things was falling off the treadmill, wasn't it? On
Hmm.
Show Me the Way to Amarillo with Peter Kay, wasn't it?
Yes,
That was him.
I remember.
Um, but I remember watching it with my granddad, and the bit that I didn't like was the him sitting in the director's chair telling that long story because it just for me as a 7, 8 year old didn't go anywhere, and he kept losing track and stuff like that. I watch it now so well crafted because he goes off in one direction and comes back a bit like Billy Connolly will do, and it's just funny all the way through. So I'm not saying I'm anything like that, but what the course was saying is like if you got a long story, how do you find the funny in the journey to that and
Hmm.
build up to it? And also I've read Adam Bloom's book and stuff, and so talking about toppers and things like that.
It's been recommended an awful lot
Yeah,
to me.
yeah. Everyone will, right up to Jimmy Carr and stuff. People like that will be recommending that book.
Yeah.
I'm guaranteed. Really good. I met him once actually at a gig in Suffolk, and he was really kind. I was a big fanboy and got him to sign the book. And he made a mistake in the book. One of the proudest moments, my wife made him laugh while he was signing it, which was quite funny. Yeah,
Awesome.
so
Awesome.
that was quite good.
I,
Yeah.
I, I, I,
Um,
I like Jimmy Carr. I always say with like say like Jimmy Carr, Matt Rife, some of them. I feel like they cracked a formula that works for them.
yeah.
Like his crowd work
Yeah,
is
you sort of
gone.
Jimmy Carr's got two different. Is his TV persona and then his live stuff, isn't it? So his TV is quite cheeky, but then if you've only watched TV and you go and see him live, it's something else again, isn't it? But you know what you're going to get.
But
So
as well as that, have you seen any of his sort of podcasts that he does? Like he's been on Joe
no, I've not
Rogan.
seen no.
He The one thing that I always love so much about these comedians, say like Jimmy Carr, Ricky Gervais, is they are intellects
Yeah.
as
Well,
well.
Jimmy wrote a book, didn't he, before Adam Bloom's book that analyzes comedy and stuff like that, and that was really interesting. And
Okay.
it was
Would you say
really
you
quite technical. He's
would
very
you
thought. Yeah, he thinks about it.
would you say you've always been a student of comedy, or have you started to appreciate the art more and more as you got into it?
I say I think I was, but then I go and speak to the other comedians, and they're reading off names and names and names of people that I've
Hmm.
never heard of. That I don't, I watch quite a bit of it, but it's like not to the extent that some of them are. Yeah,
Yeah, I completely get. Well, one thing about doing this pod, that a lot of people name drop, and at the beginning, I was sort of lying, like, oh yeah, I know him. I know Barry who's done in front of 5 people up in Burnley, but there's so many out there. It's a saturated industry, and we are
yeah.
always fighting for spots.
Well, I'm yet. I'm. This is one of my aims of my comedy. One of my targets is to do a gig with someone that my wife's heard of. So that'd be like, oh, I've achieved. It's someone you've actually heard of. Not
And
happened yet. It might be a long way off.
so, what would you say the difference is between watching comedy online on Netflix to actually going to the clubs?
Well, as an audience member, or as a comedian, you
No,
mean?
as an audience. So,
Audience member. Oh, I
or
think
just
it's
the
totally
atmosphere
different.
in
There's definitely
general.
some. Yeah. So I always judge like someone who's funny. If you're watching them on telly and you're sitting on your own and they make you laugh out loud, that is a fucking good joke, isn't it? Because it's like the atmosphere builds up. If you're watching something live and you're with other people and stuff like that, it's just you get a whole different experience, I think, like that. You get more laughs watching it live. So if you enjoy comedy, watching it on YouTube on your own and stuff, go and watch some live because it's a totally different experience, I think, because you're experience that laughter flows and builds and all that, and the top comedians like Peter Kay and stuff like that, they can use it, work it. Probably one of the most the best one of the best shows I ever saw was Eddie Izzard 20, 30 years ago.
Okay. Yep.
And he came on stage. Well, it wasn't even stage, it was in like a sports hall, really odd venue for it.
Was
He
he in a
came on
dress
stage.
back then?
No, it was not then. He probably had might have had makeup and nail varnish
Now
and
it's
stuff like
done.
that. He
Yeah.
did, but always done that. But he came on stage and everyone was cheering, and he just raised his arms up so the cheering went higher, and then he quickly went down like that, so it stopped, and that made everyone laugh. And so he
Hmm.
built up and down, and he did it for 5 minutes. He would literally was controlling them. He was like a conductor and stuff. And the longer it went on, the funnier it got. He'd not actually said a word for 5 minutes, but I was just in tears, tears rolling down my face. And he just like probably didn't plan it. It happened, and he just went with it and
Yeah.
worked there. And it was just one of the best things I've ever seen.
But
Yeah,
I had Alistair Barry on here a couple of
yeah,
episodes back. Fantastic comedian, and he said when you get to them sort of levels, and he said like his mates, like his mates, like John Bishop, Michael McIntyre, his mates with them all. He said they'll tell him off for this, but it does get to a level where it becomes easier, but also becomes a lot harder. So could you
yeah.
imagine doing that Eddie Izzard skit in a room of 20 people?
Yeah, no, it just wouldn't work, would it?
Yeah,
And I've watched people walk on live, watch live at the Apollo on the TV, and people walk on, and they go mad, and they've not
yeah,
actually said anything. And you think, right, that doesn't work for me. You've got to work quite hard, haven't you,
yeah.
to try and get it. You got that for me, it's trying to get that first laugh. Once you get that, I relax. Until that first laugh comes, that's like there. So that's the other thing with my set. I'd say I talk a bit about mental health, but I'm not going to go straight into it because it's something like a difficult subject for people. So you want to have a little something that gives a little bit of a laugh first, and then you sort of build into it because it's like the other thing is like the mental health stuff for me was people say, "Oh, I'm quite brave talking about that," but for me it was a bit of a safety net really because I thought, well, if I talk about something that makes me vulnerable, or they're going to like me and not be too harsh on me and stuff like that, which is
Yeah.
I've tried. This is why I try to move away from that a little bit now, just because it's like I do still talk about it, and sometimes I've been asked specifically to do mental health stuff, and I've quite a bit of material about it, but I can want to move away from that so it doesn't sort of define me really. Yeah,
I, I will agree with that, and I will challenge it. I think if you're if you have got a platform, and every comedian does have a platform, they have that moment
yeah,
where everyone's listening to them. Par politics, because I think then you're trying to force people's narrative. If
yeah,
you've got a platform and you can spread a positive message along with being funny, I
yeah,
almost think that is your responsibility
yeah. Well,
to
I
an
do.
extent.
I think there's every set I do. There's going to be some elements in it. It
Mm.
used to be probably 7, 8 minutes of it was about mental health, and maybe it's now 3 or 4. I'm up in Edinburgh. I'm going to just for a few days. Just go and watch a load of shows. But I'm there for 3 days, but I booked myself into 3 gigs.
Okay, cool.
So one of them is with disabled cants.
Yeah,
So that's Mark Nicholas, Benny Shakes, or Benny's running that one up there. Mark, I think, does a lot of stuff down in London.
yeah.
Um, and it's a gig that I've been trying to get on for ages because I think I really want to share what I've got about mental health and stuff. So I'm really pleased to be able to do that. So
Mm.
that gig, I'm going to focus on the mental health side of things on there, and there'll be other people with different disabilities and stuff talking about. I think it's brilliant to want to give that platform, raise awareness, and make people laugh as well. But then I'm doing another gig which is 5 minutes in the middle of with like a guy's doing clown comedy, Jürgen Strack, who's
Yes.
fantastic. I know him quite well. And he has a couple of comedians that intersperse with his clown stuff. Mental health going in dark about, not dark, but like, you know, some people might say preachy or, forthright about that. Probably the wrong thing. So I'll just put in some of more sillier stuff because I think it'll fit a bit better with that. Then my
Yeah.
third one is comedy karaoke with Masai Graham. So I got 8 minutes stand up, and I've then got to do a karaoke song. So
Okay.
I've got some material about music and stuff. So I'm going to use that, which is going to be a lead into the karaoke.
Uh,
So I've
what
just sort of picked some different stuff.
what karaoke song would you do, and would you change the lyrics to make it comedy?
No, I'm not doing that. No, oh, because I'm not a musical comedian. I'll tell you
Mm.
what song I'm doing because it's basically it's a punchline to a little bit in my set. So I'm doing a Kaiser Chiefs song, and I predict a riot. So,
Okay, yeah, cool, standard.
so it's a good karaoke song because it's quite upbeat and stuff like that. But that's part of my I reference Kaiser Chiefs in that bit. I've got loads of different bits. So in that is Kaiser Chiefs.
Yeah.
Mm.
There's a bit that's always stayed with me, and it happened in my pub. Total eclipse of the heart, and there was a
Yeah,
drunk guy, and he just said "totally pissed in the pub" instead.
yeah.
Totally pissed in the pub, and that's just stayed with me for
Yeah.
about
Well,
5 years
I guess
now.
if I think of something when I'm there that fits or references something else that's happened, I'll change the lyrics. I'll go for it. Yeah. So
So
I haven't got that's not my plan at the moment. At the moment, I'm trying to see if I can listen to the song, get the lyrics in my head because what I want to try and do is back to remembering when I first started doing the comedy,
yeah,
it was I was trying to remember my set and I wasn't really able to perform it. What I want to do with the karaoke is I want to be able to perform it and by, have a put some energy into it rather than staring at the screen trying to remember what's coming next and stuff like that. So yeah.
I'm shit at remembering my set, but I have this weird talent of learning songs off by heart really quickly.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of reverse. So when it comes to writing
You'll
your
become
comedy,
a musical comedian then. You'll
I
be put
can't.
and solved it, wouldn't it?
I do
You just
carry
sing
it.
it. Sing your
No,
set.
do you know what? It'd be the worst thing in the world. I have a pub. I do karaoke every Friday that I host.
Yeah.
And one, I need the Dutch courage, and two, I can't sing to save my life. I have one song. No, I have two songs I can semi do, which is
Yeah.
California Dreaming
Yeah.
and Nelly the Elephant.
Right, okay.
So you could have
Well, you
guessed.
to do if you're doing karaoke, here's a tip for you: tequila. That's the one.
Yeah.
It's only one word, isn't it? You should be
Yeah,
fine.
nice and easy that one.
As long as you,
Smashed
what's
it.
your dance game like, Daniel?
Oh well, terrible. Terrible. I'm not. I'm not a dance man. So when it comes to writing your comedy, do you would you write out the whole script and learn it off by heart, or would you just like the pretense, the build up, and the punchline?
I I write. I've written out word for word. But partly this is back to Adam Bloom's book and stuff like
Hmm.
that, written it out so that I can then analyze it, see what is just filler words and stuff like that, and what can
Yeah.
cut out and how can you strip it back and things like that. I got to a stage where I was doing that and I was learning my set. I felt that I'd overlearned it. There was a comedian, as a guy, you know a guy called Just P?
Just P.
Just P. He's a
Just
guy.
P.
He does Just P. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
he
I've had
does
a Just
a
P.
London guy. I think it's inter. Oh no, it's just North London. I think round or just north of London. Does sort of interactive comedy. Really interesting, different sort of style. And he said to me, it was really good. And he just said, offered some advice and felt like I overlearnt it and stuff like that. And it was like, just relax a little bit. So that was a brilliant tip for me. That was like, okay, I need to not get too worried about it. So my gig tonight, I've got an idea in my head what I'm going to do, and I
Yes.
will go and just order it and just check it's going to not overrun and stuff like that. But I'm not going to get too hung up about exactly that. So I've sort of gone back and forth. But I will particularly if I'm doing a new bit, I write it down word for word, or maybe do it and then watch back the recording and write down everything. Actually, I can cut that bit, or I can cut that, or it needs a joke in there, or something like that. So.
Do you record every single set you do?
Not everyone. It sort of depends on whether there's a. Sometimes you're in a back room of a little pub and there's nowhere really you can put the thing. But
Yeah,
most of the time, if it's something I'm doing new or a new order and of putting
yeah.
stuff together, I definitely will because I want to see how that hangs together. Sort of checking timing because that's the other thing I'm rubbish at. I got comedians watch and stuff like that, and
Mm.
I had it for first 30 gigs before I remembered to press start. The first time I remembered to press start, I only remembered to press stop when I got back home. It was like, oh, 4 hours. Didn't look at the watch. And
Only
it's
felt
sort
like
of
10
like,
minutes. Cool.
yeah, guys, yeah. So
Well,
those sort of like that sort of craft sort of stuff is still getting there, like getting those
hmm,
habits to go. But I know enough now. My material, I've done enough time. I've done about 160 gigs, something like
oh, yeah,
that. Know enough that okay, this is going to take this amount of time, and it sort of varies a little bit depending on yeah, big. You get big laughs. It's going to take you try and let it drag out a little bit because
hmm,
that's the other tip is slow down. You
yeah,
always say slow down. No matter how slow down you got, you always go a bit slower.
yeah.
Um,
And that's one thing I sort of never prepared for was the pause in between jokes, staying in the bit, and
yeah.
then holding it out. One bit of advice that Christopher Nolan Walker gave Watson, so he gave me yesterday was when you watch back your set, watch it back first with no audio and just watch your body movement.
That's it.
And I did that on my set yesterday. It really wound me up. Like
Was
I
that Chris Norton Walker? Did you say?
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
he's a really nice guy.
He's also
Yeah,
he told me to do that, and yeah, I watched my body movement on stage without listening to what I was saying,
yeah,
and it wound me up because
yeah.
yeah,
Just
I
think
was
what it's doing to the audience, Dan.
imagine, yeah, imagine it's
They're
like
not thinking that though, but yeah.
yeah, like home renovations on stage. Like everything, I pick the mic up 12 times and move it around.
Well, the really top comedians, they know everything. They know exactly what's happening, don't they? That when they pick up a glass, they pick up a glass and not drink it, put it down again. They know they're doing that.
Yeah.
Whereas us, like, yeah,
Well, that's why
there
I'm
it
living.
is.
I always take a glass on stage because I always have a 2 pint rule. I only ever have 2 pints, and then
Yeah.
but on stage I will hold it. I will go to sip, but I think that's more time killing or not time like I don't
Oh,
know
that's
like
not a bad thing. Is to build some helps to build some of the pauses in. I've seen people do that with the water and stuff like that to pause. Use that as a natural pause.
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So would you say people going on stage because I've spoken to some people like my mates and they say oh you've got to be brave, you've got to be courageous, it's a lot of courage to go on stage. Would you feel that is the case or just sort of for the first time?
Yeah, not just the first time. I was really scared. Like, but I didn't sleep for a couple of days, and it was like, oh, I was going to go, and it went well, so that was good. Um, and um, and it was like I say, I was doing it to do something to take myself out of my comfort zone. So
Yes.
I wanted it to be like that. I wanted it to be a bit scary and push myself a little bit. Um, I wouldn't say it's ever. I feel pretty confident now going on. I'm not particularly bothered about. Let's say not bothered. I'm not feeling nervous about gig tonight. There'll be a little bit of adrenaline going. But then I've sort of thought, well, actually, what I'm trying to do is to push myself out of comfort zone. So that's when I start to do like competitions or gigs in different areas or bigger gigs and stuff like that to just to push myself a little bit. Going
Okay.
there to try and get that. Yeah, just continue to take myself out of my comfort zone really for it.
Would you say you
Challenge
still get
myself.
nervous? Like, I'm not as nervous, but like, is there still a couple of
I will
jitters
do certain
before?
gigs. Yeah, certain gigs I'll get nervous. A bit more nervous if doing new stuff as well because you're not quite
Yeah.
sure how it's going to land. You're speaking to a few comedians now. It's like if you see the TV comedians, they're going to do every time you see them on the telly, they got different stuff. But mine, my main 10, I've probably out of that 160 done that about 115, 10 times, something like that. And the other stuff's bits, and it's like because you get different audiences all the time, and then you're tweaking it and growing it, and it's not exactly the same, but so you get to know it pretty well, don't you?
In the
So I'm
variation.
not too nervous with.
How many times would you try a new joke before you say, yeah, it's now part of the arsenal, or no, it's not going to work?
Uh, it sort of depends on because I've done jokes. I try not to. I've see people they do a joke doesn't land, they go that's it, been in that one.
Hmm.
But you might be at a gig that's got 8 people there or something
Yeah.
like that, and half of them are comedians who are ready for their doing their bit and stuff like that. You can't really judge it there, and also you get it's sort of like different demographics as well. So I'm in my 50s. You know, I've got teenage, not well, not teenagers, in their 20, kids in their 20s. So I've got stuff around that I hope would be relatable, but certain stuff isn't going to be as relatable. So if I've got an audience that's my sort of age and I'm telling those sorts of stories and things like that, then that lands, that's great. But if I'm telling that to like students and stuff like that and it doesn't work, it's like maybe it's the wrong audience for that type of material. It's not gonna fit. So yeah, I try not to be too judge that too quickly. So
With
uh,
like trying like new material, let's say different audiences, different crowds. Would you say you should play every single room possible, or should you like select your gigs carefully around the audience you think you're tailored to?
no, I think just try it out because you never you could make some judgments about who you think you are, but you never really know, do you?
Hmm.
And I think there's also things that will certainly when you're starting it. And I've listened to a few of the episodes and stuff. A lot of
Yeah,
people saying it's just get some stage time, get
yeah.
on there, record yourself, see what you look like when you're moving around, that
Hmm.
type of thing. It's just get the stage time, and it's like you'll surprise yourself and stuff. That stuff actually that works for that. And I've done one of the things I try and do is I'm not been so good recently is try and write something for each gig that is either topical or relates to that area or something like that. And
Yeah.
just don't always use it, but have a go at it. But if there's something that's good, and I wrote something that was like topical a few months ago, got a really good laugh, and I'm thinking, actually, this doesn't. I don't need to think of that as a topical joke. That actually works anyway. So that's in my set now. So little things like that sort of help. So and you don't know how the audience is going to react.
Would you say like when if you're going into a new venue, you would quickly sort of like like do like your Alien vs Predator, look around the room, find something to like hit there and then, like a joke about the room, and then
I don't tend to. I know there's a few people that do that, and it's sort of like, oh, that's their thing. Sometimes if I'm dry, it's like probably more about I'll have a look on Wikipedia about a town I'm in, or
right,
if I'm around and have a look around and mention somewhere. But I did that I know you talk about gigs that bombed and stuff like that. I did that, had a really nice set, and it comes to Christmas, and I saw something about this town, and I thought, oh, I could do that. I'd just take the piss out of this a little bit. And that was the first I opened with it. They didn't like it.
mm,
Who's this twat coming to our town taking the piss? And then that was it. They didn't warm to me at all. And mine is generally warm, and I'm used to people. I want people to like me and stuff like with mental health stuff and all of that. And it's
yeah,
like, nah, they arms folded. That was it. And it's like, so that was. I went off going, oh, they were a tough audience. But then it's like, actually, no, you can't. Don't blame the audience. Have a look at what did you do. And if I'd have told that joke at the end or in the middle, that might have been all right. Maybe they might still not have liked it, but that was sort of a lesson for me, really.
yeah.
It's
You
like
haven't sort
think
of built the
about,
trust with them yet.
yeah, it's like, oh, I haven't got the right to do that yet.
Yeah,
Later
but
on, yeah, if they'd have been laughing at all the other stuff, they might have been all right with it. And it's like, oh yeah, that's good. But so if you're going to do something like that, I try and do something that's neutral or warm or something like that to them, and just that sort of fits more with my persona. I'm not a Paul Smith going to go out and just
I
slag off
couldn't.
everyone.
I know
No.
I couldn't do I couldn't do that. I mean, I had a guy on Abdul. He's been doing it for a year, and I've never seen crowd work as good as his. And that's
Yeah.
the bit my work needs a lot of attention, which is funny enough because that was my follow up with mental health and not wanting people to actively dislike you, which I mean you're not going to be everyone's cup of tea. How
No.
how would you deal with hecklers and crowd work?
Well, I did start off with that. I've not had to use it, but I did think I'll have something in my back pocket just in case. So I was there thinking, well, if someone doesn't really like the mental health stuff and starts having a go, my thinking was I was going to look and like not at the light, look like oh sorry, I thought that was one of my old therapists.
Yeah,
Like that.
yeah,
Make
yeah.
just make a joke out of it and then move on. That would be it. And it's like, yeah, But then that's partly also I do a bit of mental health and jump into something else anyway. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's quite good when we're doing, particularly the early days. The MCs, if they know what they're doing, will sort of say, have a chat with me, talk. But unless the acts ask, don't. don't interact and stuff like that. Let them do their set, because generally, well, we're around here up north and stuff. It's 10 minutes. London, it's 5 minutes generally, isn't it? A lot of
You
the
bring
gigs and
someone.
stuff. Yeah, and 5 minutes and a bringer, and if you're lucky, they're not throwing beanbags at you.
Yeah.
Um, um, and so 5 minutes will go like that. And if someone's heckling and stuff, that's still that's their set gone, isn't it? Which is a bit unfair. So
Mm.
yeah,
Oh, it is how yeah, and it is a bit discerning. I mean, I do need to get up north and do a couple of circuits up there. Like it does
yeah,
seem like a complete different environment. And starting out comedy in London, where do you know what I mean? I mean, there's about 140 comedy clubs like that do open mic stuff. I think only 40 of them are non-bringers,
yeah.
and that can be a bit
140 comedy clubs and about 200 audience members across them, isn't it?
yeah. It's so
About
it's
500 comedians.
So I think at the start it's harder, but when you become more known in the circuit, you could probably hit, do you know what I mean, three or four a night. So
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I think there is the
I mean,
growing.
I've not done much in London. I've done a couple of competitions
Yeah.
down there. So that's sort of like going, oh, you know how long you're going to
Which
get.
ones?
Um, West End Act a
Okay. Yep.
year. Then one down in Kingston, down that
Okay.
way. Kingston Comedian of the Year. But so I've only done one other gig on there, which is really recommend it, called the OM.
Yes.
So that Chris Alley runs.
Yep.
It's in North London. So that was really good, really nice gig. And because I was traveling from out, he didn't mind. Well, he said you don't have to bring anyone, but it's a nice real ale pub. So I had a few mates that fancied coming anyway. So yeah.
Oh,
So
my
yeah,
pub's a real out pub.
yeah. Whereabouts
Yeah.
are you? You're southeast of London, aren't you?
Southeast like Kent or Dartford.
All right. Okay. Never
So
mind.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I've got more knowledge on real out than I do on comedy by a country mile.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm a powwow, session powwow man. I'm a wuss. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I've. So we've been doing about 2 and a bit years. What advice would you give anybody just starting out or thinking about doing comedy?
I would say get some stuff written down and stuff, and then just have a go.
Yeah.
I would say have a go. Don't judge too much on how it goes first time. If you want to have a, if you really, really hated it, that's fine. But don't judge it too much on your first one. And then the other thing I would say as well is go. You might be watching stuff on YouTube and TV and Netflix specials and stuff, but go and watch some like grassroots open mic
Yes.
nights. So you sort of see what it's like and have a chat with people. They'll
Mm.
probably tap you up to be their bringer anyway. And then just go and just go and watch and see what it's like. And it's like not everyone's and you'll sort of see it's like, comedy's so subjective, isn't it?
Mm.
Everyone's sort of different. And I think try not to say I want to be like this, just be yourself, I think. Or unless you want to be a character, but it's like have your own have your own set, yeah.
And also, one thing I've noticed, and in particular about this podcast, comedians love talking about comedy. If you are nervous, go up and speak to a comedian. They
Yeah,
won't tell you. They won't be. If they are rude and horrible, then that will be a very, very small minority.
yeah. I think just probably after they've done their set, if there's beforehand, their focus is going to be somewhere else.
Yes.
Mine would be, yeah.
Yeah, but
But
afterwards.
afterwards, there's such a you have to big decompression time after you've done your gig. Everything's still running around your head because all that adrenaline's going, and it's like, yeah, you do want to have a talk and a chat, and yeah,
Mm. So the question I always ask every single podcast, Mark, is my favourite question. It's a two-parter. The first bit I don't really care about as much, but I always ask to be polite. What was your favourite moment on stage, and what time did we bomb the hardest?
all right. I'd say favorite. There's a few good ones, but I did a gig in my first time I did a gig in my hometown, just outside Norwich, and there was a few people there that I knew,
Mm.
including my son who was come to watch me for the first time. He's 24 or
Yeah.
23 at the time, with a load of his mates, and they'd had a few drinks, and I decided I would let the audience know that my son was in there, which, given some of the stuff I talked about, just adds an extra little edge. And
Mm.
people were laughing and then looking around and seeing his reaction, and I was able to just kept sort of like picking back and playing that, and I just felt really relaxed. He really enjoyed it. There was some really funny moments in there where he reacted to some of the stuff I'd said. I talked well. It was one of the lines. It's like little. I was talking about um, being on a flight and joining the Mile High Club, and then, and then saying I'm hoping on my next flight I can upgrade from solo membership. And he just shouted out, "I was on that flight," which which got a bigger laugh than anything I said. But that was great. So that was pretty cool. And he, that was nice for him to see what I'd done, and his mates enjoyed it. So that was
Good.
lovely. There was a couple. One, I wouldn't say I bombed, but it was gig number 8, and I know it's number 8. I'm geeky enough to have a spreadsheet of all of my gigs and
Awesome.
stuff.
I've
And
got one as well. Not gonna lie.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I pretty much nearly had a panic attack on stage. I
Oh,
dried up completely. I said I'll get the card out and
yeah.
read that. I thought, oh, bit of time. But when I was panicking so much, your eyes, everything went blurry and stuff. I couldn't read it, and it was one I was recording. It felt like a minute up there of me saying
Mm.
nothing and I'm in an ahhing, and eventually got back, and I then started to talk, bait and finished off my set, and I came off and going, oh god, everyone went, oh, you did so well to recover from that. They were really good. And I had one audience member come back, thought it was a bit, thought that was part of
Oh,
my set,
that's a good
and it
com.
was
Yeah.
like, and like you say, the audience don't know, it wasn't, but it was scary, and it was 50-50 of me just walking off, and I might never have got back again on
Yeah.
the horse. But that the other one, I was about to do the gong competition, and because mine's all storytelling, I thought, I need some different jokes, something that's going to hit quite hard
Mm.
and quick and stuff. And I had some stuff that I'd written that I wasn't particularly comfortable about. It was about some loads of jokes about visiting a strip joint and stuff like that, which wasn't my sort of stuff. There was some funny stuff in there. Funny when I was had a few drinks and telling mates who'd had a few drinks down the pub, and I told it at this gig just as a practice for the gong, completely the wrong audience. It was actually a variety night, so it wasn't all comedy as well. So there
Right.
was
Okay.
people there, and it was like it went down as well as you probably expecting it to go down. It was like, and they're like, Christ. But that was a massive lesson for me. It was like I've never told that again, and it
Mm.
wasn't because I don't think it was funny. I think it's, I think there's certain comedians I could give that to, and they would love it and they would kill it,
Mm,
but it
yeah.
just didn't fit with my persona or what I was doing. It wasn't, yeah, it wasn't, yeah. So that wasn't great, but a massive lesson for me. But that was terrible. It was terrible.
Have you done any gong shows before?
That I did that one gong. It was tough. It was like I was on second, and everyone went,
Mm.
"Oh, unlucky, mate." And they basically say, "Yeah, everyone on second always gets gonged off."
Yeah.
And the compare, the first one didn't get gonged off. The compare then said, "Right, you three holding the cards. Remember, your job is to put the cards up and stuff and
Oh,
gong people off. If you don't gong people off, I'm going to swap those cards off and give them to someone else. Welcome to the stage, Mark Ahier."
oh,
I'm like, "Oh, thanks very much."
cheers, mate. Yeah.
I
Fuck.
know I had right. It might have been fair. There were some good people on there that got through and won, and maybe I wouldn't have done. But I think I had no chance.
With gongs, you can never take them personally.
No,
Like it
I
is.
did it for the experience, to be honest.
Yeah.
And now I've done it. I think I will. I probably will do it going again. But you were saying about going up north and do that. I
Mm,
think I've made loads of really good friends, and one of the things you talk about, like traveling and stuff like that, can be a bit of a pain. But I quite like it if there's a few of you going, and
yeah.
if we had a road trip, I wouldn't mind going up doing a road trip go to Beat the Frog. I had 1 minute on there,
Yeah.
but I'm up there with some mates, and we've then had a few drinks and stuff like that. It doesn't really matter, does it?
No.
So
No.
that'd
No.
be
No. That would be good. What I plan on doing next year is buying a van and just
yeah,
chucking a mattress on the back of it
yeah.
and sort of yeah, like doing like up north that style, proper
Yeah,
nomads.
yeah,
You know, like but yeah, because that. I mean. one of the hardest things about comedy is the sort of like the traveling logistics.
Yeah,
That's one thing I always struggle with. So it sort of has sort of like cut me off where I can go, unless you're doing trains and stuff. But paying Joe like 80 quid for a train up north for a 5 minute set, 10 minute set doesn't seem.
yeah. It's particularly living in Norfolk, it's quite hard because not a lot of point traveling north or east for gigs
Mm.
because you end up in the sea. So yeah, everywhere's there's a few in Cambridge, but that's an hour and 15 minutes away. It's like an hour and 40 at least to London and stuff. So there's a few local. We'll do stuff Peterborough and around that way, and got one Stone Market, which would be not too far for us, but it's still a 45-minute drive each
Mm.
way. But
Yeah,
yeah,
and also not being able to drink and doing it. It's a different life.
yeah, I made a decision early on not to really it to be a drinking thing for
Yeah,
me.
try and keep
So
it professional.
I'm not quite sure how I'm going to work that with the comedy karaoke because karaoke is definitely a drinking thing for me. I think I might have to do my set and then not my 8 minute set and then knock back a few pints before I do the before I do the song. That's the only way that's going to work.
The Dutch courage as
Yeah,
well. But
yeah,
Mark, that's all I've got time for, I'm afraid. But it's absolutely brilliant. Thank you ever so much for coming
yeah.
on.
Great to chat to you. Yeah, look forward to seeing you gigging.
Yes,
So yeah.
same here. When I come, well, anywhere above the M25 is north to me, so I just do
And
it as a cat.
if you ever fancy East Anglia, then give me a shout and I'll point you in the direction of some promoters. So yeah,
That'd be amazing stuff. Cheers, for that Mark.
good to chat to you, mate.
You too.
All
Have a
right,
good one.
take
Bye.
care.